It has the feel of a Roman betrayal, a modern-day Rubicon crossing. For half a decade, JD Vance played the role of loyal centurion. He was the enforcer, the defender, the man sent onto hostile networks to justify the unjustifiable, to sanitize MAGA chaos for nervous donors, and to stand silently behind the president as crises stacked up and institutions cracked. But early this morning, Saturday, January 31st, 2026, that silence shattered, and with it, the loyalty. Speaking about the disastrous ICE operation at Holy Grace Tabernacle in Dallas, where federal agents deployed tear gas against families sheltering children in a church basement, Vance used a word that is radioactive inside Trump's White House: mistake. He called the raid a failure, not a misunderstanding, not a media distortion, an operational failure. He conceded that the administration has lost control of the narrative. And in the most explosive moment of the leaked audio, he told a room of shaken megadonors that he is personally intervening because the current course is a suicide pact. This was not a slip of the tongue. This was not a miscommunication. This was a declaration of independence. President Trump, already sequestered in the residence after the Davos humiliation, the Japanese bond implosion, and collapsing Florida polling, is reportedly incandescent. He is calling Vance a snake, a traitor, a usurper. But beneath the rage is a colder realization, one that terrifies him. He cannot fire the vice president. In this deep dive special report, we're going to play the audio that may mark the beginning of the end of the Trump presidency. We're going to expose the parallel campaign Vance and his Silicon Valley patrons, led by Peter Thiel, have been quietly assembling for months. And we're going to explain why this moment represents the first real legal step toward invoking the 25th Amendment. The captain may be going down with the ship, but the first mate has already lowered the lifeboat. To grasp the scale of this betrayal, you have to understand the setting. While Washington, D.C. was gridlocked yesterday by the Make America Go Away demonstrations, JD Vance slipped quietly out of the Capitol and into Ohio. The public schedule read, family time. The truth was far more urgent: an emergency summit with the Republican Party's biggest financial backers at a secluded estate in New Albany. These were not activists. These were the money men, super PAC financiers, energy magnates, crypto barons, manufacturing executives, and they were panicking. The Japanese bond crash torched their portfolios. The Canadian blockade is strangling supply chains. The Dallas church raid is enraging their Christian workforce. They demanded answers, and Vance gave them something Trump never does: the truth. The recording was leaked to Politico and the New York Times by a donor who believed the public needed to hear it. Here is the critical exchange. A donor asks, "Mr. Vice President, we're bleeding. The boycott is real. Markets are frozen. And watching federal agents storm a church in Texas looks like tyranny. Is the president listening to anyone?" Vance responds, "I'm not going to pretend everything is under control. It isn't. The Dallas raid was a mistake, a catastrophic operational failure. You do not deploy tear gas in a sanctuary. That's not who we are, and it's not what we promised." The donor presses, "Does the president understand that?" Vance pauses. "The president is focused on the fight, but in war, you can lose sight of the damage you're doing. That's why I'm stepping in. I've spoken with the Attorney General. We're reviewing tactical protocols immediately. We are stopping the bleeding. If the current strategy is a suicide pact, I'm not signing on." Let's break that down. Operational failure. Trump defended the raid. He smeared the pastor. Vance just invalidated the president's position. "I'm stepping in. Not I was asked, not the president directed me." He asserted authority over Trump's head. Suicide pact. That's the kill shot. He framed loyalty to Trump as fatal, and in doing so, gave donors permission to walk away. This leak was no accident. JD Vance is disciplined, calculated. He knew phones were recording. He wanted this public. He wanted to position himself as the adult in the room, while Trump plays the unhinged monarch. Inside the White House this morning, sources describe chaos. Trump woke up to headlines screaming, "Vance breaks ranks, VP calls raid a mistake. For a man who demands total loyalty, this is unforgivable." Mike Pence defied Trump quietly. He never publicly criticized policy while in office. Vance just crossed that line. Trump reportedly summoned Vance to the Oval Office. Vance declined. His staff informed the president that the vice president was remaining in Ohio to reassure the base. That refusal was a power move. Trump cannot fire him. The vice president is a constitutional officer. He can isolate him, freeze him out, strip staff, but he cannot remove him. At 8 a.m., Trump lashed out on Truth Social. JD Vance is getting bad advice from globalist donors. He doesn't know the details of the Dallas raid. The pastor was a criminal. JD needs to toughen up or get out of the way. I am the president, not the donors. But the post landed flat, defensive, weak. Nothing like 2016. Trump knows the truth. Without Vance, he loses the Senate. He loses tech money. He loses the future. And Vance knows it too. So why now? Follow the money. JD Vance is a product of Peter Thiel and the PayPal mafia, Silicon Valley libertarians who wanted disruption but not collapse. The American boycott is crushing big tech. The EU's looming data transfer ban is existential. If Europe cuts off U.S. data flows, companies like Meta, Google, and Palantir lose a third of their revenue overnight. Sources confirm Thiel and Elon Musk had a blunt intervention with Vance earlier this week. The message was simple. The Trump experiment failed. Markets are breaking. The brand is poisoned. Save the vehicle. Vance is the bridge between MAGA and Capital just told him to abandon MAGA's founder. His Ohio remarks weren't just political, they were financial signals. Don't panic, don't sell everything. I'm taking control. Markets noticed. Stocks ticked up on the leak. Algorithms favor Vance. They punish Trump. When Wall Street votes for your replacement with green candles, your presidency is on borrowed time. And now the unthinkable enters the conversation. The 25th Amendment, Section 4. It allows the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to declare the president unfit. Until yesterday, this was fantasy. Today, the prerequisite has been met. A VP willing to break. Is Vance counting votes? Secretary of State Rubio publicly humiliated? Likely yes. Treasury staring into bond market chaos? Yes. Defense furious over militarization and internal abuses? Almost certainly yes. Vance doesn't need to invoke it. He only needs to threaten it. The message to Trump is clear. Let me run the government, or I pull the pin. This is a soft coup. Power drains from the Oval Office and pools in the vice president's office. Trump becomes ceremonial. Bureaucracy stops responding to him and starts routing decisions to Vance. We are watching the presidency being hollowed out in real time. The Holy Grace raid was the trigger because it split the base. Vance, a Catholic convert, understands religious conservatives better than Trump ever has. He knows that gassing children in a church is a red line. By calling it a mistake, Vance aligned himself with the church over the state. He told evangelicals, I'm with you. Trump is chaos. That gives the base permission to leave Trump without leaving the movement. They can say, we support the agenda, just not the man. It's Machiavellian, and it's brilliant. International reaction? Relief. European diplomats are studying the Ohio transcript like a roadmap. If Vance is in control, maybe trade wars end, maybe threats stop, maybe diplomacy returns. Germany has already reached out directly to Vance's office, bypassing the State Department. That's the tell. When foreign governments stop calling the president and start calling the VP, power has already shifted. The Trump-Vance ticket is finished. They cannot stand together. One calls the raid heroic. The other calls it a mistake. Vance isn't waiting for 2028. He's positioning now. If the midterms collapse, as Florida polling suggests, Trump takes the blame. Vance becomes the man who tried to save the party. This is the end of the unified executive. A divided White House cannot function, especially with protesters at the gate and the economy on fire. JD Vance saw the iceberg, the boycott, the crash, the church raid, and chose survival. It was ruthless, calculated, cold, and it may be the smartest political move of the year. Trump is now fighting three wars: Democrats, global pressure, and his own vice president. No president wins that fight. Watch the cabinet. Watch the Naval Observatory. If meetings start there, the 25th is in motion. The betrayal is complete. The end game has begun.